India's quest to reclaim Katchatheevu Island from Sri Lanka. In this video, we delve into the historical context of the Katchatheevu dispute. Explore how the island was ceded to Sri Lanka by the Congress government in 1974. Understand the impact on Indian fishermen and the ongoing struggle for fishing rights. Join us as we discuss the urgency of finding a solution and the public's right to know. Title: Balancing Claim Bilateral Ties. Map depicts India and Sri Lanka. Location highlights Katchatheevu Island. Red section 1961. Pandit Nehru's stance on giving up claims to Katchatheevu. Attorney General M.C. Setalvad's differing opinion. Rights over the island enjoyed by Raja of Ramnad from 1875 to 1948. Blue section 1974. India relinquishing its claim to Katchatheevu. Communication to CM Karunanidhi. Sri Lanka's records supporting their claim. State of Madras failing to prove original title. Map details. Cities: Madurai, Ramaswaram, India; Jaffna, Sri Lanka. Lines connecting cities indicate proximity or relations. The Katchatheevu dispute between India and Sri Lanka has had several implications for their bilateral relations. Historical context. Katchatheevu is a tiny 285-acre uninhabited island situated in the Palk Strait, dividing India and Sri Lanka. It measures approximately 1.6 kilometers in length and just over 300 meters in width. The island was formed following a volcanic eruption in the 14th century. While it lacks permanent residents, there is an early 20th century Catholic church on the island, where religious services are conducted annually by priests and devotees from both countries. Contested ownership. During British colonial rule, Katchatheevu was administered by both India and Sri Lanka. In 1974, former Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi acknowledged Katchatheevu as part of Sri Lanka through the Indo-Sri Lankan Maritime Agreement. However, the decision to cede Katchatheevu has been a source of contention, particularly for Indian fishermen who continue to face arrest by Sri Lankan authorities. Impact on livelihoods. Since the outbreak of the Lankan Civil War in 1983, the island has become a battleground for conflicts between Indian Tamil fishers and a Sinhala-dominated Lankan navy. Accidental crossings of the international maritime boundary line have led to loss of livelihoods, properties, and lives for Indians. Political sensitivity. The recent revelation that the Congress callously gave away Katchatheevu to Sri Lanka in 1974 has reignited the debate surrounding the island's ownership. Prime Minister Narendra Modi criticized the Congress, emphasizing the need to protect India's unity, integrity, and interests. Sri Lanka's official views on the Katchatheevu dispute have evolved over time, reflecting the complex historical context and diplomatic considerations. Portuguese occupation. Sri Lanka asserts its sovereignty over Katchatheevu by citing the Portuguese occupation of the island from 1505 to 1658 CE as evidence of jurisdiction. This historical claim is based on the island's control during the early medieval period. Indian counter-argument. India, on the other hand, argues that the former Raja of Ramnad, Ramanathapuram, held possession of Katchatheevu as part of his estate. The island was passed to the Ramnad Kingdom in India during the 17th century. Both India and Sri Lanka have laid claim to the island since at least 1921 to determine maritime fishing boundaries. Indo-Sri Lankan Maritime Agreement 1974. The maritime boundaries in the Palk Strait were addressed through the Indo-Sri Lankan Maritime Agreement. This agreement officially recognized Katchatheevu as under Sri Lankan sovereignty, leading to mutual acceptance of ownership. Current situation. Katchatheevu remains a contentious issue, particularly for Indian fishermen. Sri Lanka's interpretation of Indian fishermen's rights to access Katchatheevu is limited to activities such as resting, drying nets, and visiting the Catholic shrine without a visa. The island's small size and uninhabited status make it a focal point for historical and territorial debates. The Katchatheevu dispute has significant implications for regional security and cooperation in South Asia. Historical context. Katchatheevu, a 285-acre uninhabited island, was ceded by the Indian administration to Sri Lanka in 1974. The decision was part of an act of bilateral largesse preceding the 1976 exchange of letters that divided the maritime boundary line in the Sethu Samudram littoral region between the two neighbors. The island's history dates back to the Ramnad zamindari, where it was part of the Ramanathapuram Principality established in 1605. Katchatheevu was a source of revenue for the Sethupathi dynasty. Fishermen's struggles. Since the outbreak of the Lankan Civil War in 1983, Katchatheevu has become a battleground for conflicts. Indian Tamil fishermen and a Sinhala-dominated Lankan navy clash over fishing rights. Accidental crossings of the international maritime boundary line have led to loss of livelihoods, properties, and lives for Indians. Geopolitical conundrums. The Katchatheevu dispute is complex and cannot be reduced to jingoistic discourses. It is a legacy of geopolitical challenges from colonial South Asia. The island's sovereignty remains a point of contention. Livelihoods and sovereignty. The issue poses multifaceted challenges. Livelihoods. Fishermen from both India and Sri Lanka rely on the region's marine resources. Sovereignty. Respecting the sovereignty and security of both nations is crucial. Recent developments. Sinhalese fishermen express concerns that Sri Lanka might lease the island to India. The dispute continues to impact regional dynamics and cooperation. The Katchatheevu dispute has resurfaced, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently referring to the island's transfer to Sri Lanka by the Congress in 1974 as callous. Here are the key points. Historical context. Katchatheevu, a tiny island between India and Sri Lanka in the Palk Strait, has been a contentious issue. In 1974, the Congress government, led by late Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, ceded Katchatheevu to Sri Lanka through an agreement. The decision was made without consulting the Tamil Nadu State Assembly. The island's historical control by the Ramnad zamindari and the traditional fishing rights of Indian Tamil fishermen were disregarded. Recent remarks. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar emphasized that the public has the right to know how Katchatheevu was given away. He highlighted the detention of Indian fishermen and stressed the urgency of finding a solution. India needs to engage with Sri Lankan authorities to address this issue. Fishermen's struggles. Over the last 2 decades, 6,184 Indian fishermen have been detained by Sri Lanka, and 1,175 Indian fishing vessels have been seized or apprehended. The dispute continues to impact the livelihoods of fishermen from Tamil Nadu. Political debates. The Katchatheevu issue has been debated in Parliament and within Tamil Nadu circles. It remains a live issue, and the current Chief Minister has corresponded with the External Affairs Minister on this matter.